My name is Sylvia. I am 28 years old and have a creative job at a gaming company in New York. On the surface, it seems like I'm living a trouble-free life, but in reality, my family situation is quite complicated. A year ago, the company my father worked for unexpectedly went bankrupt, so I stopped living alone and started living in my hometown with my parents and my sister Frida. Our household needs my income to maintain itself. Sylvia. Frida said she wants pork steaks for dinner tomorrow night. My mother started the conversation. I sighed inwardly and replied, "Oh, and we are running out of money for food. We can't even afford to buy pork loin. Can you contribute a little more to the food budget?" I frowned and said, "We're already out of food money for this month. It's not even halfway through yet, though." That's when Frida joined the conversation. "Big sis, you're not contributing enough for food." "What are you talking about? I'm already contributing $3,000, so it should be more than enough." Frida snorted and said, "Big sis, prices have gone up, and $3,000 just isn't enough for a family of 4 anymore." I couldn't contain my anger and retorted, "Just $3,000. If you have a complaint, why don't you work and earn some food money yourself? It's hard to find a job, so I feel sorry for Frida," my mother said, taking my sister's side. I thought bitterly to myself, my sister uses job hunting as an excuse, but in reality she's unemployed and squandering her days away. Moreover, the living expenses I provide are being given to my sister as pocket money by my mother. Stop it already. If it's really that difficult to live, how about we sell this house and move to Mom's hometown? We might find work there, and life could be. No way. I don't want to go back to that hometown. My mother immediately opposed the idea. Our grandmother runs a successful Italian restaurant in Queens where we could work, and with free access to delicious pizza and pasta, our lives would certainly be easier. However, grandmother is very strict, and especially when it comes to making pizza, she becomes even stricter. My mother dislikes this and tries to avoid the physical labor of making pizza. My father always says this, "Why do we seek grandmother's help so quickly when we are all trying to support this life together? That is what you call being spoiled." I wanted to scream inside. It's ridiculous to say that I, who earns the living expenses, am spoiled when I have a sister who does not want to work. I think Frida should look for a part-time job too. She is already 26. And there are many people who work part-time while job hunting, I suggested. But my mother quickly argued against it. "No, Frida is helping around the house, so she doesn't have time for a part-time job." "What? What are you talking about? I have never seen Frida do any housework," my father interjected. "Frida carries the dishes to the sink after meals and does her own laundry. Sometimes she even massages my shoulders." I began to feel angry. The housework that my father describes Frida doing is something even an elementary school child could do. In contrast, I get up early every morning to prepare breakfast for the entire family and make my father's lunchbox. Additionally, I support our finances and take care of tax payments. Still, my parents have always favored Frida. She has been favored since we were children. I am considered pretty too, but Frida has a more refined face and is charming, which is why our parents have always treated her specially. Actually, one might think I should leave such a situation soon, but due to complex circumstances, it's not easy for me to move out, and I live with daily stress. Days passed, and I initially did not realize that my sister had left the house. I thought she was just going out as usual, but the next day, and the day after that, she was nowhere to be found. Realizing this, I began to have suspicions. Just then, as I was returning home and heading to my room, I heard an astonishing conversation from my parents in the living room. "I can't wait for the souvenirs from Hawaii. Frida is really lucky. Right now, she must be relaxing on the beautiful beaches of Hawaii and enjoying meals at delicious restaurants. I want to go to Hawaii too. Maybe we should go together next time." I couldn't help but interrupt. "Wait, what are you both talking about? Are you saying Frida is in Hawaii right now?" My parents responded with puzzled expressions. "Yes, that's right." I couldn't keep up with this unexpected development. "But how can she afford the trip? She doesn't have any money. I've even been holding back on going shopping or to the arcade. Actually, she won it in a sweepstakes. Frida has always been lucky with these things. She had won a trip through a sweepstakes. I had no idea that had happened. Surprised, I decided to accept that explanation for the time being. The next day, while I was at work, I got an unexpected call from a credit card company I don't usually use. They informed me that there had been high charges recorded over the past 3 days. I had no memory of making such transactions. Nervous, I asked about the amount, and the customer support said, $10,000 has been spent over 3 days. I immediately guessed who the culprit was. It had to be my sister, enjoying her vacation in Hawaii. Though she had won the hotel stay and flight tickets, she needed her own funds for souvenirs and other expenses. Determined to uncover the truth, I contacted my sister. "Frida, what are you doing? Explain yourself." "Oh, I'm surprised you called, sis. I thought you were expecting souvenirs." "Cut the jokes. You've been using my credit card without permission, haven't you? Did you notice?" "It was an oversight," she replied nonchalantly, and my anger surged. At the same time, I regretted not realizing sooner that someone had entered my room. "What are you thinking? Using someone else's credit card fraudulently is a crime. It might be a problem if it were someone else's, but it's different among family members. Sylvia, you really should study more. How could you spend $10,000 in 3 days? It's impossible to spend such a large amount of money in such a short time. On this free trip to Hawaii, excluding the airfare and accommodation, I had to pay for all tourist activities, shopping and dining. I added luxury restaurants, shopping for branded goods, and transportation. Before I knew it, the expenses had exceeded $10,000. Exceeding $10,000 isn't excusable. What were you thinking? Why are you so angry?" "I used the card because it was about to expire. That's why, sis. I'll leave the payment to you," she said cheerfully before hanging up. This incident was so sudden that I was left speechless. After that, she kept contacting me, but I decided not to respond at all. Eventually, she left a message on my answering machine. It seems I've gone and done it. I'm truly foolish." I couldn't help but laugh. In the evening, when I returned home, my parents hurried to greet me. "Welcome back. How can you act so nonchalantly? Frida is in a tough situation. Why did you stop the card? She's in trouble." "So what? My card was misused, so of course I stopped it," I replied. The moment I received a call from the card company and noticed transactions I did not recognize, I immediately stopped the card. As a result, my sister, who was unaware and tried to use the card, panicked and vented her anger at me. Since I consistently avoided responding, it seems she eventually sought help from our parents. "Your sister is in trouble abroad, and you're not going to do anything. Are you still saying that? Just because we're family, it doesn't mean it's okay to casually use someone's card to spend $10,000. I don't think you should be indifferent to that. How cold can you be? It's because of that attitude you never get to go on trips. She intended to buy souvenirs for us with the card. What's the problem with that? You're both unbelievable. How can you come to such a conclusion? You shouldn't be sleep-talking in daytime. Can't you two think normally? She is thinking of us and trying to have fun. Can't you be more thoughtful?" Thoughtful? Can you still say that after hearing this message? At that moment, I pulled out my smartphone and played the message left on the answering machine by my sister. "Make the card usable, you miser. Our parents' cards are already maxed out and can't be used for payments. Being so stingy about giving me pocket money for a trip, how useless can they be?" After hearing my sister's angry voice on the answering machine, my parents' anger quickly faded, and they hurried to their room to check the status of their cards. A few minutes later, I heard my parents screaming in panic. When I went to see them, their faces were red with intense anger. "I can't believe Frida used my card without permission. After all the nice things I've done for her, she even took the bank book and cards. I'm shocked by such betrayal." I coldly retorted, "Oh, wasn't that supposed to be a kind act by Frida to buy souvenirs? You said she was trying to have fun for us, right?" "Yes, that's right. But our money is still safe, right?" my parents muttered ambiguously. Seeing my parents' attitudes change once they knew their assets were safe, I could not hide my disappointment. Then why don't you increase the card limit and expedite the repayment so she can use it again? Why don't you let the kind Frida, who tried to buy souvenirs for you, have it?" "That's not possible, because we have no savings left. What will we do? Frida is in trouble without being able to eat or drink." After the commotion, my father suddenly pleaded with me. "Sylvia, we will start anew. We vow to keep supporting this family together. So please, help Frida." "What are you talking about? Everyone, does that even include me?" Moved by my father's actions, my mother also knelt before me. While I was momentarily confused, I said mockingly, "It's a bit late for apologies now," and my mother simply pleaded with me earnestly. "I will also change my ways. I swear to do my best to support everyone as well. From now on, I will do no wrong to you or to her." Despite the presence of my parents, laughter escaped me as I pondered deeply on how to respond. Later, while my parents went to check their room, I took out a credit card I had secretly found that still had a valid expiration date and had not been used at all. "Why don't you give this card to Frida and enjoy a family trip as well?" I suggested. My parents were thrilled with my words, and they immediately contacted my sister. They hurriedly prepared for the trip, while I reserved their flights to Hawaii online. After watching the whole scene with a smile, I dialed a specific number. 3 days later, when my sister returned from Hawaii with our parents, Frida said, "Big sis, thank you for letting us enjoy Hawaii. Oh, it's rare for you to come to pick us up. Are you expecting souvenirs?" Unfortunately, I didn't buy anything. It seemed they had thoroughly enjoyed their trip to Hawaii and had forgotten their gratitude to me just 3 days ago. After confirming this, I was ready to execute the plan I had been preparing and could hardly contain my excitement. "It seems like you had a lot of fun. Was that the last big moment of your life?" "What do you mean by last?" "Actually, I've decided to sell the house on a whim. I've already shipped the belongings to the new place and arranged for someone to pick us up." As I said this, my parents and sister were shocked and noticed the for sale sign posted on the entrance of our family home. "What is this? What does it mean? Did you really sell the house? What's going on?" In front of their astonished faces, I elaborated further. Actually, a real estate agent who is a friend from my university was interested in this land and had been asking to sell the house and land together for a while. I had always refused to sell because I thought maintaining this house, which was not built by our grandmother, was more cost-effective. Taking a breath, I continued. "However, I recently changed my mind. I realized that by selling this house and starting to live alone again, I could gain financial and mental freedom. That's why, while you guys were away, I confirmed my decision to sell with the real estate agent." "What? Selling it on your own is illegal." "That's right. This house belongs to Dad. There's no way you could do anything about it." My parents protested vehemently, but I responded calmly. "Oh, you seem quite energetic about it, but what would you think if you knew that the house and land are actually registered in my name?" "What?" "Dad, do you remember when you came to me because you couldn't pay the taxes, and I agreed to help on the condition that we change the registration to my name?" "Ah, that's right." I continued the story. "I didn't leave this house because it was registered in my name. I was looking for a way to get you out of the house and sell it. It was difficult to find an opportunity because you were always home. However, the chance to sell finally came when I sent you to Hawaii. As planned, everyone was out of the house, and I could finally sell the house and the land." "Ah. Oh, as I mentioned earlier, the luggage has already been sent to the new house, so don't worry. And the pickup should be arriving soon." "Pickup?" "Yes, Grandma is eagerly waiting for everyone. She can't wait." "Hey, Grandma, you mean Mom?" "Correct. After talking to her, she agreed to take everyone in to knock some sense into you. She told me to send the luggage. Everyone, get ready for daily pizza making and cleaning." My parents and sister were shocked. "We can't go to Grandma's." "That's right, we don't want to go." "Ah, I see. Well, you can do as you like. But without a house or jobs, how are you going to live? There's also the payment for that card. How are you going to pay such a large amount?" "What are you talking about?" "The card is in your name. You thought it was in my name." "Be careful, it's under a different name," I said. "Eh?" No way. My mother was startled. She took out the card I had given her and checked the name, losing color in her face. "Wait, this card is in Frida's name. The credit card I gave you was actually found in Frida's room. It was the first card she got when she started working, but she quit soon after saying the job wasn't a good fit. And it seems she hadn't used it. What I've spent too much. What should I do about this?" "What should you do, you ask? Since it's your name on the card, you have no choice but to pay. And make sure you earn enough to cover the stay, all of you, without causing trouble to Grandma." Frida resisted until the end, but our parents, having no other option, silently awaited Grandma's arrival. Accompanied by Grandma, they headed to her house and restaurant in Queens. There, under the strict guidance of Grandma and the veteran employees, they were taught to work, even as they shed tears. The $10,000 fraudulently charged to my card was repaid to me by Frida under Grandma's strict orders. Although I planned to settle everything by selling the house and land, Grandma managed to recover the living expenses I had paid previously and even took a portion of my parents' salaries to be transferred to me. Later, I moved to an apartment closer to my workplace and was able to start living alone again. The new life is going smoothly, and I am enjoying peaceful days, looking down at the city at dusk from the balcony. I felt relief from the long-felt pressure and a slight sense of loneliness. At that moment, the phone rang, and I hesitated a bit when I saw Grandma on the display. "Hello, Grandma," I answered, and she checked if I was doing well. "Yes, I'm fine," I replied. "That's good. Actually, it's about Frida and the others. They are starting to change significantly, especially Frida, who has begun to actively help with work. It also seems that your parents are gradually reflecting," said Grandma. She continued, "Sylvia, it must have been tough. I believe I understand how you feel. Sometimes family can be a burden, yet it is also something we should support. I hope you can forgive them someday." I listened to Grandma's words. Her voice carried hesitation and anxiety, but also a significant resolve. "There's no rush. Take your time and think it over until your heart settles," Grandma said kindly. I nodded deeply. "Understood, Grandma. I'll take my time and reconsider everything," I replied, and then quietly hung up the phone. As I looked out the window at the urban landscape, the sun slowly set on the horizon, and the darkness of night gradually enveloped the city. In the quiet of the dusk, a whirlwind of emotions churned within me. While anger and sadness still lingered, a small spark of hope for the future had begun to emerge. Returning to my room, my eyes were drawn to a family photo. In the photo, a young Frida and I smiled along with our parents. Looking at those happy faces, I nostalgically remembered the joyful days of the past and thought, if only we could return to those times, but reality quickly pulled me back. As time passed, my life gradually began to regain its old rhythm. At work, I was appointed the leader of a new project, and personally, I started to lead a fulfilling day-to-day life. One evening, after finishing the day's work, my cell phone suddenly rang. Hesitating slightly at the unknown number, I answered. "Hello, this is Sylvia." "It's me." Frida came, a voice different from the confident, arrogant tone of the past, now soft yet unstable. Unable to hide my surprise, I asked, "Frida, what's wrong? Did something happen? Sorry for calling out of the blue." "Actually, I want to meet you in person. I want to talk to you," Frida said quietly. Her words carried a humility and a sense of growth that I could never have imagined from the old Frida. "Why do you want to meet?" I asked, quietly waiting for Frida's next words. Frida's voice, though trembling, was calm and sincere, indicating her growth. "Big sis, I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart. I felt that a phone call wouldn't sufficiently convey my feelings, so I want to meet you in person to truly and earnestly apologize." Her words were earnest. Without interjecting, I quietly listened to her. "If you feel it's difficult to meet me, that's okay too. Your feelings are what matter most to me," Frida continued. After a moment of silence, I finally spoke. "All right. If that's the case, let's meet next Saturday at 2 p.m. at the cafe in front of the station." "Really? That makes me so happy." "Thank you, big sis." Relief was evident in Frida's voice. After hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath for a while to sort out my emotions. Despite questioning whether the choice I had just made was truly right, I harbored a hope that meeting her might change something. On the day of our meeting, I arrived at the designated cafe earlier than planned. Upon reaching the cafe, I could feel my heart racing, my chest tightening with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. As the clock's hands moved slowly, and just a little past the agreed time, the cafe door opened slowly, and Frida appeared. She looked different, with a simple yet earnest expression. Her face was without makeup, her attire simple, and most notably, her eyes conveyed a resolute change. She approached my table slowly and began to apologize quietly. "Big sis, I am truly, truly sorry." At that moment, I could physically feel her change and was momentarily unsure how to respond. "Frida," I began, and she continued her words, holding back tears. "While working at Grandma's house for the first time, I realized how much I had relied on you, how much I had taken you for granted. I finally understood how hard it has been for you, always suppressing your own desires to support us, the family." Frida, with tears streaming down her face, reflected on her past actions and repeatedly offered heartfelt apologies on the spot. Frida detailed how much she had relied on me in the past and the lessons she learned at our grandmother's house. Her story revealed many insights about her relationships with our parents and her self-awareness. I just sat quietly, listening to her words. Each word seemed to dissolve the long-held anger and sadness in my heart. As her story progressed, I could feel the heavy emotions inside me gradually lighten. "Thank you, Frida. I've fully taken your feelings to heart," I said. Afterward, we talked about various topics for several hours. We had an open dialogue about recent events in our lives and the challenges we were facing. This time became a valuable step in rebuilding our relationship. As we parted, Frida handed me an envelope with gratitude. The envelope contained money she had earned by working hard at our grandmother's house. "This is just the beginning, but I will do everything I can," Frida said. As I received the envelope, I felt her growth internally and my heart warmed. Months later, I visited my grandmother's house again and met my parents there once more. I was able to receive sincere apologies from them directly and could tell that they had grown, just like Frida. That night, we were able to share a meal together as a family for the first time in a long while, and I truly felt the warmth of family again. I might not be able to forgive everything immediately, but seeing my family's efforts to move forward step by step gave me hope for the future. Before heading home, my grandmother gave me some profound words. Sylvia, you have certainly become strong, but as important as that strength is the kindness you continue to hold. Remember, that is the most important thing, she said. Hugged by my grandmother, I couldn't hold back my emotions and shed tears. I thought this might be the beginning of a new relationship with my family, and I felt the weight on my heart gradually lighten.